The two moments we just watched are almost exactly the same, aren't they? They take place at roughly the same time in their respective movies and are about the same thing. The main character stops struggling with their dueling identities and embraces their heroic side. So why did I love one and hate the other? Well, because one is honest and emotional, while the other undercuts its own dramatic purpose with a joke. This is what's called bathos. First coined by Alexander Pope back in 1727 in an essay called Bathos, or the Art of Sinking in Poetry. It describes moments in poems where the tone suddenly switches between serious to trivial for comedic effect.
Now I'm standing. You all happy? We're all standing up now. Bunch of jackass.
The juxtaposition of the two moments creates a laugh, but it destroys whatever drama the piece was going for. If you take a look at the most popular movies produced by Hollywood today, particularly with the Marvel movies, I think you'll find that we have become a culture adrift in bathos. Now, like any literary device, there are correct ways to use bathos, and one of them is parody. It's used constantly in movies like Deadpool and the Lego Batman to great effect, because there is an expectation in those films that they are going to cut down the known tropes of superhero movies. But now we have allegedly serious versions of the genre that are actually secretly parodies. That moment in Doctor Strange is a parody of the moment in Spider-Man, whether it meant to be or not. The same way this is later parodied by this.
Look out!
What moments like these signal to me is that the creators don't have confidence in their own story. They're using the joke to distract from the film's dramatic shortcomings. The dramatic question at the heart of most superhero stories is, who is this character? Are they selfish or altruistic? Will they accept the enormous responsibilities that their enormous power has given them? This moment is the answer to that question. It's supposed to energize the audience, propelling them into the final action of the climax. If you're telling an honest story, then at no other point in the movie should a filmmaker feel more confident that the audience is invested in the drama. Now, you can argue that these jokes are funny, but that's not really what I'm disputing. The point is that there is a dramatic cost that has to be paid whenever bathos is used at the wrong time. And these aren't just singular moments, but a pervasive tonal choice. Dramatic kneecapping happens constantly. Ant-Man can't even say his own name without giggling. It sort of works better in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, because those are, actually comedies. But then there's the airport scene in Civil War, which should be one of the most dramatic scenes in the film, but instead its tone is haphazard. Tony starts the scene quipping constantly.
Wow, it's so weird how you run into people at the airport. Don't you think that's weird? Definitely weird.
Then suddenly becomes super serious.
You've been busy.
And you've been a complete idiot. Dragging in Clint, rescuing Wanda from a place she doesn't even want to leave, a safe place. I'm trying to keep you from tearing the Avengers apart.
Then is back to humor, even while he's literally fighting his best friends to the maybe death.
Wanda, I think you hurt Vision's feelings.
You locked me in my room.
Okay, first, that's an exaggeration.
Only for the scene to end on a suddenly dark note. The audience might laugh at every one of the jokes along the way, but the scene is dramatically nonsensical. So why do moments like this happen? Okay, so this is Joss Whedon, the writer-director of the two Avengers movies and the script doctor of many of the early Marvel films. He's probably one of the two men most responsible for the general tone of the Marvel franchise, and one of his most famous quotes is, "Make it dark, make it grim, make it tough, but then for the love of God, tell a joke."
You ever tried shawarma?
Whedon is advocating for a certain kind of bathos, but like all advice on writing, the merit of this line is situational. When running away from an overly serious tone, you can definitely go too far and end up in self-parody, because you actually have to make things gritty or dark or at least tough for this quote to help you. Otherwise, you're just replacing the drama with jokes, and in the process, you make the story toothless and meaningless. While Joss Whedon himself doesn't mistake comedy recipe for character. It's since his departure from the franchise, and in their attempts to mimic his brand of quippy dialogue, that Marvel's storytelling philosophy has become all jokes, all the time, no matter the cost. It's a pretty cynical approach, in my opinion. The idea is that you can string together enough jokes to keep the audience vaguely entertained all the way to the credits, but it's not a recipe for lasting storytelling. There are ways to mix comedy and drama without sacrificing one for the other.
Equanimity. The quality of being calm, and even-tempered. He accepted her betrayal with equanimity.
Jack, I'm your dad.
What? But there is another element at play here. The fact that these jokes happen during scenes that would otherwise be emotional makes me feel like these movies are actually afraid of emotions, because they're afraid that they will be the butt of the joke, that they'll be seen as cheesy. And now is when I finally get to talk about Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman made me feel like actual emotions? And that's no accident. It's by design. In an interview with the New York Times, Patty Jenkins, the director of the film, said, "Cheesy is one of the words banned in my world. I'm tired of sincerity being something we have to be afraid of doing. It's been 20 years that the entertainment and art world has shied away from sincerity, real sincerity, because they feel they have to wink at the audience because that's what the kids like." I think Patty Jenkins is right. We're in an oversaturated media environment, and yet we're starved for stories that really connect emotionally. Whatever flaws you want to ascribe to Wonder Woman, a lack of sincerity cannot be one of them. Wonder Woman is a genuinely inspiring character who actually stands for something. She stands for truth, honor, courage, and self-sacrifice, and that is demonstrated dramatically throughout the movie. She acts with total conviction, and the film never pulls the rug out from under her. The cinematography and music does everything it can to make sure you are 100% behind her. The point of all my videos is ultimately for you and I to become better writers by studying the successes and missteps of other stories. To that end, the most important exercise a writer can do is to absorb a story while being emotionally self-aware. By that I mean, don't just watch a movie or pick apart the plot holes of the story, but continually ask yourself in every scene, how is this making me feel? And why is it making me feel that way? When you can do this, your radar for insincerity becomes infallible, and you're able to see through the kinds of manipulations many films attempt to pull. I challenge you to do this while you're watching Wonder Woman, and I think you'll find that every scene builds up to a singular emotion that is real, not pantomimed, and that nothing in the scene invalidates anything that comes before. There is real substance beneath the surface level amusements, and that is what makes the movie more than the sum of its jokes, and it's evidence why movies shouldn't be embarrassed by their own heart. Using bathos can get a laugh, but it doesn't just destroy the meaning in your story. It destroys the idea that stories can even be meaningful. We need stories to take risks in the emotions that they portray, and not second guess themselves with winks to the audience. I mean, do you know how many universally beloved movies there are that have some of the cheesiest scenes you can possibly imagine, and succeed precisely because we enjoy the cheese? E.T. ends with a spaceship cutting a rainbow across the sky, and my favorite movie in the world ends with two people screaming "I love you" at each other for 5 minutes straight.
I love you!
If your story is sincere enough, then nothing is cheesy.
I love you! I love you!